The film begins in Germany, where we meet a woman named Sarah Wolf. We learn that Sarah Wolf was a very seasoned veteran in the army, but she has since left the service. We also learn that Sarah was married to an American officer named Ivan, but he died. Currently, Sarah lives with her son, Josh. We find out that Sarah and Ivan met in Afghanistan while serving there, and Ivan was supposedly killed during a mission in Afghanistan. Since then, Sarah has been in a very poor mental state, which is why she left the army. The biggest proof of her poor mental state is when a helicopter passes overhead, a completely normal occurrence, and as soon as it does, Sarah begins to have flashbacks to her time in the service. When a young man accidentally bumps into her in the park, she attacks him without realizing what she's doing, thinking she is still in Afghanistan. When Sarah snaps back to reality and realizes what she's done, she gets up, collects herself, and walks away. For full years pass. We learn that Sarah is now working for a security company. When she finishes her shift each day, she goes home and trains like a madwoman. This is Sarah's life, but she is completely unhappy with it. She wants to travel to America to live there with her son, Josh, since his father was American and his father's family is there. Sarah wants her son to at least get to know his father's family. Consequently, we see Sarah taking her son, Josh, and heading to the American consulate because, thankfully, she has received a job opportunity at a security company in America. Therefore, she needs to go to the consulate to finalize the visa paperwork for herself and her son. To get to the consulate, Sarah and Josh have to take the metro. At the metro station, Sarah receives a voice message from a journalist named Johnny. In the message, Johnny tells Sarah that he wants to talk to her about the ambush she was in Afghanistan, which resulted in the death of 8 of her colleagues, including her husband, Ivan. Johnny also tells her that he sent her a video related to the ambush and asks her to watch it when she has time and then call him. Sarah plays the video, which is from a hotel's security camera. It shows a man sitting and talking with another person, but the second person is not visible at all. Of course, Sarah doesn't understand anything from the video at the moment and doesn't focus on it too much because she realizes she has become too engrossed in her phone, and her son, Josh, has wandered off. She panics and searches for him until she finds him. This shows us that Sarah has a general problem with focus due to her mental state after what happened in Afghanistan. After finding Josh, she takes him and they head to the American consulate in Frankfurt. Upon entering the consulate, they go through the normal routine of security checks, document reviews, and all that. Afterward, Sarah and Josh sit in the reception hall to wait for their turn, just like everyone else. But 3 hours pass, and it's still not their turn. Due to the very long wait, Josh gets bored and starts playing here and there. Sarah takes him to an embassy employee and asks about her appointment time for the visa interview. The employee informs her that her turn hasn't come yet and tells her there's a playroom where her son can play. Sarah agrees, takes Josh to the playroom, and leaves him there while she goes to get a cup of coffee. But when she returns with the coffee, she can't find him. Sarah panics and searches every corner of the consulate for her son, Josh, but she still can't find him. She reaches a few locked offices and tries to open them to look for Josh. But before she can, 2 security officers who work at the embassy stop her because what she's doing is forbidden. Sarah demands to see their supervisor. They agree to her request and calm her down. After a moment, the head of security at the embassy arrives. He is a former U.S. Army officer named Eric Kench, accompanied by his assistant, another American officer named Donovan. Sarah tells Eric about her son's disappearance. Eric is genuinely kind and pleasant, so he allows Sarah to search all the offices she wants to in case she finds her son. She doesn't find her son anywhere, as if he vanished into thin air. At this point, Sarah becomes agitated, and so does everyone else. Eric tells Sarah to come with him to a room to rest until security finds her son. Sarah tells Eric that while searching for her son, she saw a boy and a girl exchanging a bag and then entering a secure area of the embassy. Sarah suspects that these 2 are involved in her son Josh's kidnapping and wants to enter that secure area. Eric informs her that they will look for the people she described, but she is absolutely not allowed to enter that area as she is not authorized. Eric then has Sarah wait with him in a room while everyone else finishes searching for Josh, hoping they'll find him. But after a short while, Donovan comes to Sarah and Eric and informs them that Sarah entered the embassy alone today. Her son was not with her, nor was anyone else. Everyone is shocked, realizing that Sarah might be mentally unstable. But Sarah insists she entered with her son. Eric doesn't believe her. At this point, Sarah has had enough and decides to call the German police. She calls them, but unfortunately the German police ask her to leave the premises as quickly as possible to avoid trouble because, my friend, the American consulate is considered American soil, and the German police have no right to enter or do anything. Sarah, of course, doesn't accept this and refuses to leave. She wants to escape from Eric to search for her son herself within the embassy. But Eric fights with her and stops her, and Donovan comes to help him restrain Sarah. Despite this, Eric refuses to harm Sarah because she is still a mother and seems distraught. He asks her to stay there with Donovan until they find her son, then he leaves. A few moments later, Donovan leaves to get something, telling Sarah not to move from her spot until he returns. During this time, Sarah seizes the opportunity and calls her mother, telling her that her son Josh has disappeared. But Sarah's mother tells her that she has been sick since what happened in Afghanistan and that she might not have actually brought her son to the embassy, possibly because she hadn't taken her medication. At that moment, Sarah gets angry that her mother thinks she's crazy and hangs up on her immediately. Afterward, Sarah decides to keep searching for her son until she finds him herself. She immediately finds something like a needle, uses it to pick the office lock, and escapes from the room. Sarah then goes to the room where Josh disappeared, and indeed, my friend, she finds Josh's toy in the room. From this, Sarah becomes certain that Josh was really with her in the embassy and that he has been kidnapped, and the officials here are trying to cover it up somehow. Sarah decides to leave the building she's in and enter another one in the embassy to search for Josh. The problem is, if Sarah tries to move from one building to another normally, she'll be spotted on camera and caught. So she decides to play it differently. She gets out of the building through a window and climbs the exterior of the building to get to the other one. And yes, Sarah falls while doing this, my friend, but she gets up and climbs the building again, this time successfully entering. This building, by the way, my friend, is the residential building where refugees seeking asylum at the embassy stay. Anyway, Sarah keeps trying to open the rooms in this building until one of them opens in front of her. In this room is a girl named Kira, who screams as soon as she sees Sarah. Sarah covers her mouth and tells her to be quiet or she'll hurt her. Kira quiets down, and Sarah asks her if she's seen her son, but Kira tells her she hasn't seen any children there. Sarah then asks Kira who she is and what she's doing here. Kira tells her she is a political refugee from Belarus and can't say more than that. Kira tells Sarah that she knows the embassy like the back of her hand and could help her find her son, but in return, Sarah must help Kira escape from the embassy, as she is essentially imprisoned there. Sarah is surprised by Kira's words but agrees. Now, they prepare to leave the building and figure out how to get out of the embassy. As they prepare, Sarah sees Kira hiding a flash drive and knows it must contain something important and dangerous, but she decides not to ask about it for now. Meanwhile, we see Eric Kench go to the American ambassador at the embassy and tell her about Sarah and how she is now freely roaming the embassy looking for her son who supposedly never came with her. The ambassador gets worried and tells Eric to activate the emergency protocol, but Eric, still being kind and not wanting to cause Sarah any trouble, tells the ambassador that he will personally find her without using the emergency protocol. The ambassador agrees to his proposal but tells him that if the situation escalates, he will bear all the blame. During this time, Sarah and Kira leave Kira's room and make their way through the embassy to find Josh. Sarah encounters one of the guards and fights him, hitting him with all her strength. We see Sarah's immense power as she manages to knock the guard unconscious in moments. She steals his keycard, and then she and Kira continue on their way to find Josh. Sarah enters a locker room in the embassy and by chance sees a locker with a specific mark on it, the same mark she saw on the clothes of the girl who was exchanging a bag with someone, the one Sarah feared had kidnapped Josh. Sarah opens that specific locker and finds the bag she saw earlier. Here, she discovers it's a bag of drugs, filled to the brim. Sarah is stunned and realizes that those two were smuggling drugs in the embassy and Josh must have seen them, so they kidnapped him. Sarah returns with Kira to Kira's room. There, Sarah tells her she will go to Eric and inform him about the drugs to convince him that her son was really there and was kidnapped, so he'll search for him. But Kira strongly disagrees with this plan. They argue, and Sarah decides to leave her and go. But before she does, two men, highly skilled fighters, suddenly enter the room, my friend, and try to kidnap Kira. Sarah immediately starts fighting them, hitting them left and right. After a very long fight, and with Kira's help, the two of them manage to take down the men who wanted to kidnap Kira, without us understanding why. Afterward, Sarah leaves the room only to find Eric and everyone else waiting for her. They arrest her and sedate her. A little later, when Sarah wakes up again, she finds herself in a room resembling a hospital room, tied to a bed. In front of her is the ambassador herself, along with Eric. They inform Sarah that her mother called them and told them that Sarah is ill, takes medication continuously, and often hallucinates things that aren't real after what happened to her in Afghanistan. Therefore, she might have lost her son and not realized it. To convince Sarah, my friend, they show her the embassy's security camera footage, which indeed shows Sarah in the embassy, but alone, without Josh. Not only that, but when she was fighting the guard with Kira, she was alone. Kira wasn't with her. In other words, my friend, Sarah was truly imagining everything. At that moment, Sarah receives the shock of her life and can't believe it, becoming fully convinced that she is indeed sick. Eric and the ambassador then inform her that they have already called the German police, who will be there shortly to take her to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. They leave her and walk away. Not much time passes before Sarah is startled to see Kira in front of her untying her. But Sarah doesn't believe Kira is real, convinced now that she is sick and Kira is just a figment of her imagination. Kira tells her that she is real and explains that she is from Belarus, the daughter of a famous politician there. This politician was involved in money laundering with drug dealers, and he wasn't alone. It was all the politicians in the ruling regime there. But a while ago, Kira's father decided to repent and leave that life. He took all the files that would expose the government, put them on a flash drive, and was killed because of it. The flash drive then ended up with Kira, which is why she fled to Germany and then sought refuge at the embassy to be smuggled to America to live there and expose everyone in Belarus. But for some reason, the embassy has imprisoned her here. The gang that came to kill her was sent by the drug dealers to get the flash drive from her. Kira then asks Sarah to help them escape and find Josh because it's clear the embassy here is corrupt, intentionally imprisoning Kira and, at the same time, discrediting everything Sarah says to make her think she has gone mad. All of this shocks Sarah even more. She decides she is not crazy, escapes with Kira, and they leave the room through the window. They currently find a safe place in the embassy to hide. Sarah tells Kira she suspects Josh was kidnapped because he saw the boy and girl exchanging the drugs. Sarah asks Kira to try and find out whose drug bag it is so they can get to that person and find out why they kidnapped Josh. Kira immediately accesses the embassy staff network and sends a message saying a blue bag has gone missing. A person contacts Kira and says he will wait for her in the embassy cafeteria to get the bag. Sarah goes to meet this person, who turns out to be a technician in the embassy's IT department named Martello. Martello tells Sarah that he kidnapped her son Josh, and to get him back, she must give him the drug bag. But Sarah notices that Martello is lying and has nothing to do with her son's kidnapping. He just said that to get the bag. So Sarah tells him to forget about Josh and instead get her a map of the place and a key card that can open any room so she can search for Josh, and in return, she'll give him his bag. Martello agrees and tells Sarah to meet him in the bathroom in a little while, and he'll bring her everything she needs. He leaves her and walks away. Sarah is about to leave, but before she does, she sees Eric sitting with his daughter in the cafeteria or restaurant. And remember this, my friend, Eric's daughter. Just remember that Eric has a daughter. Kira then comes to Sarah, and they go to meet Martello in the bathroom. Martello indeed gives them a map of the place and a key card to open any room. Finally, he informs them that he has disabled the cameras for a full hour so no one can see them. Sarah thanks him, gives him the drugs, and then gives him a light blow so it doesn't look like he cooperated with her at all. She leaves him unconscious, takes Kira, and they leave. They go to Donovan's room because Sarah suspects Donovan has a hand in all of this. Sarah and Kira search Donovan's laptop and find messages between Donovan and the person who arranged Sarah's job in America. Sarah now realizes that Donovan specifically arranged this job for her so she would come to the embassy and they could kidnap Josh. But why did Donovan do this? With a little thought, Sarah realizes that Donovan is just a low-level officer, so he must have done all this for someone important, like Eric Kench. So Sarah searches for information on Eric and discovers that he served with her in Afghanistan. At this point, Sarah remembers the journalist, Johnny, who contacted her about the ambush she was in. Consequently, Sarah opens the video Johnny sent her again, which showed a person sitting in a hotel with another person. Sarah discovers that one of the two is Eric, but the second person Eric was talking to, without anyone knowing, was not clearly visible in the video. Sarah calls Johnny and asks him to explain the video. Johnny informs her that Eric was involved with the people who set up the ambush for Sarah, Ivan, and their friends, killing everyone, and that the video he sent Sarah shows Eric meeting with one of the people who carried out the ambush, planning it with him to kill Sarah and everyone with her for a reason we don't yet know. Johnny tells Sarah he will send her a picture of the person Eric was meeting with and hangs up. Meanwhile, we see Donovan with Eric in the camera room trying to fix the cameras to find Sarah. Donovan leaves Eric to get his laptop from his office. But when Donovan arrives at his office, he finds Sarah and Kira there. Sarah immediately hits him, takes Kira, and they escape. Afterward, Sarah and Kira go to a safe place and open the picture of the person Eric was meeting with in Afghanistan, which Johnny sent them. When Sarah sees the picture, she discovers it's one of the men from the group that ambushed her and her friends in Afghanistan. Now, Sarah is certain that Eric was the one who set up the ambush, but she still doesn't know why. She now understands that Eric also brought her here, kidnapped her son, and will try to kill her so she doesn't cause him any problems or expose to the world what he did. When Sarah learns all this, she decides that she and Kira will escape the embassy, and she will pursue Eric until she finds her son. She takes Kira, and they make their escape. At the same time, Donovan contacts Eric and tells him that Sarah found the messages on his laptop and knows they planned everything from the beginning and that they kidnapped her son. Eric is shocked, and we don't know what he plans to do next. On the other side, Sarah takes Kira to the embassy's garage. Sarah tells Kira that she will distract the people in the garage while Kira gets into one of the cars without anyone noticing, so she can escape. Sarah says goodbye to Kira, then she steals a car from the garage and speeds off. Naturally, everyone focuses on her and tries to stop her. Kira uses this opportunity to get into another car and, in this way, manages to escape completely. As for Sarah, she continues to flee in the car, eventually gets out, and returns to the embassy. She keeps running from the soldiers, and any soldier she encounters, she beats up with an incredible amount of force and escapes until finally, Eric confronts her. They engage in one of the most intense fights imaginable, but with a punch here and a kick there, Sarah manages to get Eric at gunpoint. She tells him, "You're the one who kidnapped Josh to get rid of me so I wouldn't expose what you did in Afghanistan, because I'm the only one who survived that ambush and can expose you." Sarah now asks him where her son is. Eric tells her that he did indeed kidnap Josh and that he will never tell her where he is if she kills him. Sarah is furious and realizes she can't kill Eric right now, so she leaves him and runs away. Sarah decides to play a different game this time. She goes to the cleaning supply room and makes a homemade bomb. She then goes to a specific place in the embassy and detonates the bomb. Of course, chaos ensues and the soldiers begin to evacuate the entire embassy. Among the people being evacuated is Eric's daughter. Sarah approaches her very calmly and tells her that she's with Eric and has come to take her to a safe place. To prove to Eric's daughter that she is indeed her father's friend, she gives her a small phone-like toy that can record anything. When the girl sees the device, she recognizes it as her father's, as Eric himself had it last. So Sarah takes Eric's daughter and brings her back into the embassy, taking her to a high-security room. Sarah then hides with Eric's daughter in this room and locks it behind them. After this, everyone finds out that Sarah is in this room, but the problem is they can't enter it because it's fortified, locks from the inside, and can only be opened from the inside. Now, Sarah tells everyone that the room has a system that can cut off the air supply completely. In a short time, she and Eric's daughter will die. Sarah tells Eric that if he doesn't want his daughter to die, he must bring her son, Josh. At that moment, my friend, Eric is in an impossible situation because the ambassador is standing right next to him. Of course, he can't bring Josh in front of her and admit to everyone that he did all this from the beginning and reveal himself as the despicable person he is. So Eric remains silent, not doing anything, and pretends to be a poor, helpless man worried about his daughter inside. Sarah stays in the room with Eric's daughter, and the daughter starts to weaken, on the verge of dying due to the lack of air. Sarah speaks to Eric and the others through the screen in the room and tells them she will let Eric's daughter out but wants Eric to come in alone. They all agree to her terms. Sarah releases Eric's daughter, and Eric immediately enters. As soon as Eric enters the room, he locks it behind them and also turns off the screen so that the ambassador and everyone else can't hear or see anything that is said. At this point, Eric tells Sarah he's going to kill her. Sarah asks him to at least tell her why he is doing all this and why he kidnapped her son, Josh, when he could have just killed her to avoid being exposed. At this moment, Eric decides to confess everything to Sarah. He tells her that he was injured in Afghanistan, and the US military decided to discharge him from service, even though he could have continued as an officer. Instead, they reassigned him as a security attaché in embassies. The problem, my friend, was that as a security attaché, Eric's salary was lower than his officer's salary, and he was forced to constantly move with his wife and daughter from country to country, never living a normal life. This infuriated Eric, and he wanted revenge on the army in general. So he decided to conspire with the group that ambushed Sarah and Ivan, killing Ivan and their colleagues, with only Sarah surviving, as we saw. In exchange for this ambush, Eric received a lot of money from those who carried it out, and in this way he also got his revenge on the army's leadership as he wanted. But the problem was that a journalist managed to find out that Eric was behind the ambush and obtained the video showing Eric meeting one of the ambush perpetrators. Eric knew the journalist would eventually reach Sarah and she would confirm his story, exposing Eric. So he decided to solve this whole problem by bringing Sarah to the embassy with her son Josh, kidnapping her son, so that Sarah, who was already mentally fragile, would be driven mad and do what she did, making her death in the embassy seem justified and permissible. Eric then tells Sarah that he could have easily gotten rid of her a long time ago, but decided to bring her here and kidnap her son to make her frantic and search for him, keeping everyone busy. At the same time, Eric sent a gang after Kira because, incidentally, Eric works with the corrupt government of Belarus and wanted to kill Kira and take the flash drive she had, also in exchange for a lot of money. But, of course, Sarah ruined all these plans. Eric tells Sarah that he has now told her everything, and therefore, he must kill her. Eric takes out a gun and shoots Sarah once in the stomach. He then shoots himself in the leg and places the gun in Sarah's hand, as if a shootout had occurred between them, leaving him wounded and Sarah dead. Eric opens the door, closes it behind him as he leaves, and says that Sarah shot at him and that she is completely insane and will kill everyone. At that point, everyone decides to just blow up the room Sarah is in. But before they do, Sarah, despite her injury, manages to reach the door and open it. At that moment, my friend, something completely unexpected happens. Sarah takes out a small recorder she had with her, the very same small toy-like device that was with Eric's daughter, which, as I told you, can record things. It turns out she had kept it aside, and it was recording everything that just happened. She now plays the recording of Eric's confession for the ambassador, revealing everything from beginning to end. And just like that, Eric is exposed and arrested. As for Sarah, she collapses but is taken to the hospital. After some time, Sarah wakes up in the hospital, doing well. Her son, Josh, comes to her, and she is overjoyed to finally be reunited with him. Sometime after all this, Sarah contacts Kira and they talk. From their conversation, we learn that Eric Kinch, Donovan, and another officer at the embassy were exposed for helping drug dealers working against the army and smuggling drugs through the embassy from time to time. We also learn they kidnapped Josh so Sarah would cause a scene, allowing them to use the chaos to get rid of Kira and Sarah at the same time. As for Martello, who was smuggling the drugs himself, he escaped completely, and no one knows his whereabouts to this day. But it doesn't matter, as he wasn't a major threat. Sarah tells Kira that she is now living a very happy and quiet life with her mother and her son, Josh. We learn that Sarah has largely recovered, and the trauma she had from what happened in Afghanistan is gone, and she is now completely normal. Today she is taking her son, and they are finally going to America to live, as they have officially received their visas.